It was a warm May morning in Ouagadougou in 2025 when Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, was handed a troubling update. His aide, Moussa Kabori, entered the presidential office, his expression tense, a tablet in hand displaying global headlines. "Mr. President," Moussa said urgently, "you need to see this immediately. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has made serious public allegations against our administration during a live session of the U.S. Congress." Ibrahim looked up from the economic reports he'd been reading. At 35, the young leader had already faced intense international scrutiny, but something in Moussa's voice told him this was different. "What exactly did she say?" Ibrahim asked, adjusting himself in his chair. Moussa inhaled deeply. "She accused you personally of massive corruption, international money laundering, and labeled our government as a criminal enterprise. But it didn't stop there." Ibrahim's brow furrowed. "Go on." "She claims she has irrefutable evidence that you've embezzled billions in foreign aid. She called Burkina Faso a terrorist state under your command." The speech was broadcast live on C-SPAN. It's gone viral across social media. Ibrahim closed his eyes for a brief moment. The weight of the accusations settled heavily on him. In 3 years as president, he had worked relentlessly to reform his country, fighting corruption, improving transparency, and lifting millions of Burkinab lives. These weren't just political smears. They were dangerous lies that could threaten the nation's stability. Without hesitation, Ibrahim called for an emergency cabinet meeting. Dr. Alain Ouedago, the foreign minister, was visibly furious. "Mr. President, these allegations are absurd. Our government has been audited 3 times in the last 2 years by independent international bodies. All gave us a clean report." Fatimata Ouedago, the economy minister, opened her laptop. "Mr. President," she said, "we have digital records of every single dollar received in international aid. Our financial statements are public and audited monthly." Ibrahim nodded, but he knew this wasn't just about defending against lies. He needed to find out how Greene obtained this so-called evidence. "Moussa," he said, "I want you to begin a discreet investigation. Something isn't adding up." What Ibrahim didn't yet know was that, for months, his intelligence agencies had been tracking suspicious activities involving U.S. companies trying to secure mining concessions. In Burkina Faso, using unethical methods, Colonel Kassoum Koulibaly, head of national intelligence, had quietly compiled a comprehensive file. 3 days later, Moussa returned with disturbing findings. "Mr. President," he said, "we've uncovered something major. Congresswoman Greene has received $2.3 million from U.S. mining companies eager to exploit our gold reserves." Ibrahim's eyebrows rose. "You're sure?" "Absolutely," Moussa replied. "We have bank statements, signed contracts, and recordings of meetings where she discusses plans to destabilize your government in exchange for campaign funding." Just then, Colonel Koulibaly entered, carrying a heavy briefcase. "Mr. President, this is only the beginning," he warned. "Greene is also linked to companies that fund terrorist groups in our region. They're attempting to create chaos to gain access to our resources." Ibrahim understood the scale instantly. This wasn't just a personal attack. It was an assault on the sovereignty of Burkina Faso. That night, Ibrahim reviewed the evidence with care. Bank documents detailed multi-million-dollar transfers to accounts connected to Greene. Contracts exposed her secret agreements with mining corporations. Audio files revealed her voice, strategizing how to remove obstacles within Burkina Faso's leadership. Then came the most damning piece. Colonel Koulibaly opened a folder marked classified. "Mr. President," he said gravely, "we have proof that Greene facilitated weapons shipments to terrorist organizations operating in the Sahel. Her goal was to trigger regional instability, justifying American intervention under the guise of counterterrorism." The evidence was overwhelming. Leaked CIA files showed Greene being briefed on covert operations. EMAS placed her in direct contact with armed militia leaders. Photographs captured her in closed-door meetings with financiers linked to attacks on Burkinab soil. Ibrahim muttered quietly. "That explains so much: the sudden rise in coordinated violence, the unexplained pushback against our trade policies." Dr. Ouedraogo, the Minister of Defense, turned pale. "Mr. President, if this reaches the public, it will cause an uproar in the United States, unlike anything we've seen." Ibrahim knew what he held wasn't just damning evidence against a congresswoman. It was a thread that, if pulled, could unravel corruption at the highest levels of the American government. In the hallway, his wife Ajara stood silently, watching. He walked into the office holding a cup of hot coffee. "You've been awake for 20 hours. You need to rest." "I can't rest now," Ibrahim replied firmly. "We hold the truth. The world must hear." He had made a critical decision. He would host an international press conference to expose everything. "Moussa, call the global press," he ordered. "It's time to reveal who is truly behind the chaos in our region." The world was about to witness one of the most stunning revelations in recent global politics. Never before had the presidential palace in Ouagadougou welcomed so many international reporters. It was May 20, 2025. Ibrahim Traoré was about to deliver the most important press conference of his life. Reporters from CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, Reuters, and dozens of other agencies waited, tense and focused. At exactly 2 p.m., Ibrahim walked into the main hall. He was carrying a briefcase packed with hundreds of documents. His face showed determination and calm strength. "Ladies and gentlemen of the international media," he began. "Today I reveal information that uncovers one of the biggest networks of corruption and state-sponsored terrorism in recent times." The room fell completely silent. Cameras from across the globe zoomed in on the young African president. U.S. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has accused me of corruption and terrorism, he said, but today, I will present undeniable evidence that she herself is guilty of the very crimes she accuses me of. He projected the first document on the screen. Bank transfers totaling $2.3 million from mining firms to accounts linked directly to Congresswoman Greene. "These are verified bank records," Ibrahim said. "They show payments from Goldstone Mining Corp. and African Resources, Inc. to Ms. Greene between 2023 and 2024. Journalists began clicking photos, filming every detail. CNN's Sarah Johnson was typing quickly on her laptop. "And this is only the beginning," Ibrahim continued. "We have proof that Congresswoman Greene helped finance terrorist groups operating in our region." He switched to the next screen, documents showing arms contracts signed by Greene, authorizing weapon deliveries. "This file," he said, "was leaked by insiders at the CIA. It proves Greene personally approved weapon shipments to groups the U.S. itself considers terrorists." The room broke into shocked murmurs. BBC's James Mitchell raised a hand. "President Traoré, how did you obtain this information?" "From our own sources and from individuals within U.S. intelligence who are deeply concerned about corruption in their own ranks," Ibrahim replied, composed. As he unveiled the evidence in Ouagadougou, across the ocean in Washington, D.C., Marjorie Taylor Greene sat in her Capitol Hill office, watching the broadcast in disbelief. Each document felt like a dagger to her political career. Her aide, Kevin Murphy, rushed in. "Congresswoman, the phones won't stop ringing. Every news outlet wants a statement." Greene looked pale. Her hands trembled. This can't be real. How did he get those files?" "I don't know," Kevin said nervously. "But some of these documents look legitimate." Back on screen, Ibrahim was still speaking. "Now," he said, "we have audio recordings of Congresswoman Greene discussing how to eliminate obstacles in Burkina Faso." A recording played, and Greene's unmistakable voice echoed. "We must remove this Burkinabe government. It's blocking our interests. Use any means necessary." Greene froze. She remembered that meeting. It was 6 months ago. "How did he get this?" she whispered. Her phone rang. It was Nancy Pelosi. "Marjorie, did you see what's happening? You need to respond now." Before she could answer, Kevin walked in again. "Congresswoman, the FBI is here. They've got a search warrant." In real time, her career was crumbling. On social media, #Greengate was trending worldwide. Members of Congress began calling for her resignation. The Speaker of the House called for an emergency impeachment session. Back in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim wrapped up his presentation. "This evidence will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Congressional Ethics Committee. Truth will always win." The global reaction was swift and brutal. Within just a few hours, Greene's political life was in ruins. At Capitol Hill, FBI agents were seen carrying boxes of files and electronic equipment from her office. She had been taken in for questioning. News headlines exploded. Breaking: Congresswoman Greene charged with corruption and terror financing. CNN #Greengate scandal rocks Capitol. The Washington Post, African presidents. Evidence ends U.S. lawmaker's career. The New York Times and the White House. President Trump was in an emergency meeting with top aides. "How the hell did this happen?" he demanded. Visibly frustrated, President Trump turned to Anthony Blinken. "Mr. President," Blinken began, "the evidence presented by Traoré appears to be authentic. Our intelligence teams have already confirmed the legitimacy of several documents." Trump shook his head. "Greene has always been a liability, but this is a total disaster for our party." At the U.S. Capitol, the House of Representatives held an emergency session. The Speaker took the podium. "In light of the serious allegations brought forward today, the House will immediately begin impeachment proceedings against Congresswoman Greene." The vote was swift and devastating. 387 members voted in favor of impeachment. Only 23 opposed. Marjorie Taylor Greene became only the 5th person in U.S. history to be expelled from the House. Meanwhile, in her federal detention cell, Greene was still trying to grasp the full weight of her fall. In less than 6 hours, she had gone from a powerful lawmaker to a criminal suspect, now charged with treason and funding terrorism. Her attorney, Robert Stone, visited her in jail. "Marjorie, this is serious," he told her. "The evidence is overwhelming. You need to consider a plea deal with the district attorney." "How did Traoré even get this information?" she asked, still in disbelief. Apparently, Burkina Faso's intelligence is far more advanced than we assumed. Stone replied, and you completely underestimated that young leader. That's when it hit her. She had made the fatal mistake of challenging someone far more intelligent and prepared than she had imagined. The Green Gate scandal sent tremors through the American political system. Within 24 hours, 3 more Republican congressmen resigned after being named in the leaked files. Financial markets plunged. Mining stocks collapsed by 40%. In Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré was holding urgent meetings with foreign ambassadors. French Ambassador Pierre Dubois was the first to speak. President Traoré, the French government fully supports your revelations. These corrupt operations have affected the entire Sahel region. Then the Chinese ambassador stood up with a proposal. China is ready to triple its investments in Burkina Faso. We now see your nation as a trustworthy and honorable partner. Despite the global praise, Ibrahim remained grounded. We didn't do this for recognition, he said. We did this to protect our sovereignty and to speak the truth. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the investigation kept expanding. The FBI uncovered a vast corruption network involving dozens of politicians, business executives, and even officials from the CIA. Leaked documents confirmed the scheme had been running for over 5 years, using artificial instability in Africa as a cover to justify U.S. intervention, all to serve the interests of American mining giants. The Attorney General appointed a special prosecutor to lead what the press now called Africangate, the biggest U.S. foreign policy scandal since Watergate. Still in federal custody, Greene's legal nightmare worsened. Former allies began to turn against her and cooperate with federal investigators. Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House, gave a damning statement. She told us there was easy gold in Africa, he said. She said we just needed to remove a few political roadblocks. On the third day after Traoré's press conference, Greene was formally charged with 23 federal crimes, including treason, terrorism, financing, money laundering, and conspiracy. She was denied bail, considered a flight risk, and a threat to national security. Within a week, Ibrahim Traoré had become a global figure. Invitations flooded in from universities, global forums, and diplomatic organizations. Time magazine featured him on its cover. The man who exposed Washington. The Financial Times named him Person of the Year in global politics. But Ibrahim stayed focused. In a cabinet meeting, he laid out his priorities. This recognition must translate into real benefits for our people. Fatima Sawadogo presented, new data, Mr. President. In just 48 hours, we have received investment offers worth $15 billion. Nations that ignored us are now competing to be our allies. The impact could be seen across the capital. In Ouagadougou, walked taller, proud that their leader had stood up to a global superpower and won with truth. Our country has never been this respected, a local university student told the BBC. Ibrahim soon received a special invitation from the UN Secretary General to speak on ethics in global diplomacy. Accepting it would mean becoming the moral voice of international politics. At home, Ajara watched her husband as he wrote his speech. Do you even realize what you've done? She asked him softly. You didn't just expose corruption. You changed how the world sees Africa. Ibrahim smiled. I only did what was right. I have simply done what any responsible leader should do. I protected my people and I told the truth. But deep down, Ibrahim knew he had done far more than that. He had proven that African leaders are not side characters on the global stage. They are central figures, capable of challenging and dismantling corruption at the very core of the world's most powerful democracies. His response to Congresswoman Greene's accusations hadn't just ended her career, it had turned Burkina Faso into a global symbol of political integrity, and Ibrahim into the face of a new generation of African leadership. At just 35 years old, he had become a respected statesman across the world. 6 months after his revelations, the trial of Marjorie Taylor Greene began in Washington. DCA case quickly labeled the most significant treason trial in over 50 years. Ibrahim was called as the star witness. It was his first time in the U.S. since the scandal broke. Crowds gathered at Reagan Airport to welcome him. Traoré, they chanted, holding up signs that thanked him for protecting American democracy. In the courtroom, Greene appeared a shadow of the woman she once was. Her hair had grayed, her face was pale and worn from months behind bars. When Ibrahim walked in to testify, she couldn't meet his eyes. President Traoré, the federal prosecutor, began. Can you explain to the jury how you uncovered the defendant's scheme? Wearing a sharp dark suit, Ibrahim responded calmly. Our intelligence services detected unusual activity from American companies attempting to bribe Burkina officials. As we dug deeper, we found that Congresswoman Greene was the mastermind of a global criminal network. The prosecutor held up printed records. Are these the wire transfers you mentioned? Yes, Ibrahim replied. $2.3 million in direct payments to accounts under the defendant's control, in exchange for her role in destabilizing African governments. Greene's lawyer leaped to his feet. Objection. How can we be sure these documents are real? The judge didn't hesitate. The FBI has already confirmed their authenticity. Objection overruled. For the next 3 hours, Ibrahim laid out devastating proof audio recordings of green plotting, the removal of political obstacles in Africa, signed contracts authorizing weapons shipments to terrorist groups, emails coordinating attacks on Burkinabé government buildings. President Traoré, the prosecutor asked, "What was the impact of these actions on your country?" Ibrahim took a deep breath. 137 Burkinabé citizens lost their lives in attacks financed by the defendant. Entire families were wiped out. She has innocent blood on her hands. Finally, Green looked at him. Tears filled her eyes. She knew there was no escape. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours, an astonishingly short time for a case this complex. The verdict, unanimous. Guilty on all 23 charges. Marjorie Taylor Greene became the first U.S. Congresswoman in history convicted of treason in the 21st century. Her sentence was unprecedented. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the judge read the sentence, Greene broke down in tears. Her once rising political career had ended in disgrace. From the gallery, Ibrahim showed no signs of triumph, only the quiet dignity of a man who had witnessed justice being served. Outside the courthouse, Ibrahim held a historic press conference. Today, justice was done. Not just for Burkina Faso but for all nations that have suffered under global corruption. Reporters surrounded him. President Traoré, you've changed global politics. How does that feel? I'm grateful that I could defend my people and expose the truth. Ibrahim said, this proves that no matter how powerful the corrupt may seem, justice always finds a way. 2 years later, Ibrahim was back in Ouagadougou, but the world had changed. Burkina Faso had risen to become one of Africa's most respected nations, attracting billions in ethical, transparent investment. The Traoré model of governance, rooted in transparency and sovereignty, had been adopted by dozens of countries. Ibrahim was now widely regarded as the most influential African leader of his generation. From his presidential office, he reviewed development proposals from some of the world's most responsible investors. His battle against corruption had sparked a global movement for transparency. You've changed the world, Ajara said, entering with a tray of hot tea. We changed it together, Ibrahim replied, and we proved that truth is more powerful than any corrupt empire. Across the ocean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was still behind bars, serving a life sentence in federal prison. Her downfall had become a case study in political science classes, a cautionary tale about the price of corruption. But Ibrahim Traoré had done more than end her career. He had reshaped the very idea of global leadership. He proved that with integrity. Even the world's most corrupt systems can be dismantled with the simplest and strongest weapon of all, the truth.